Greetings. I put in a couple verses in the description about the title, which is complaining on the way, calling the bread worthless even. Let me do the split screen thing and see if we can bring up the verses. Okay, there, Numbers 21. And the Father listened to the voice of Israel and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them in their cities. So the name of that place was called Hormah. I looked the word up, and it says literally utter destruction. Utter destruction. That's what's coming. That's what's coming always. It's always happening. It's always gonna come. It's coming. That is the end. Utter destruction of who and what man is. Then they journeyed from Mount Hor, Hor, by the way of the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom, and the soul of the people became very discouraged on the way. And the people spoke against the Father and against Moses. The Father and the mediator, the Father and Messiah, now in heaven. This scriptures, every word is true. This is what's happening right now with many, and it applies for the few. It applies to everyone. This is it's amazing. We can read the very words of the Father and saying what people will do, period. And they do. And they never realize they do. It is amazing. Many called. Look what happens. They spoke against the Father and Moses, the mediator between man and the Creator, Moses, or now Messiah, the mediator of the new covenant instead of the old. Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? That's a question in someone's heart, but we can read what literally happened. Why did you bring us out of Egypt, which is coming out of slavery, out of bondage, out of death? You bring us out just to kill us. That's in the mind. And it needs to be obviously rightly divided, because so many times what we read is speaking of what's inside someone and what they think and believe. But a lot of times it's discerned as false and evil. It's not teaching to do this. Why have you, it's going to be pressure on everyone that's walking their way, because we read it, because this is what happens. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no food and no water, and our soul loathes this worthless bread. And that's what the people say and believe and think. No food, no water, and the very soul, the person within themselves, loathes this worthless bread. So the Father sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many of the people of Israel died. What a strong judgment. Okay, you say that Egypt is good, darkness is good, wickedness is good, slavery to sin and bondage to the world and sin is good. Now you say you just got us out of Egypt on the way just so that we die, just to kill us. Therefore it happens, because that's what they said. It's a strong judgment. That's we read somewhere, going back to the scripture, quoting it in the New Testament and applying it directly for believers in Messiah. And the understanding and connection is always there, but then there's understanding how that's connected and true. And many don't see it. It's amazing. It's such a strong blinding. Every word is true. It means something for us to do, to see, to learn. And you find out, whoa, what if someone starts seeing what they do in the heart spiritually matches what we read? That's like for his people to find out, remember, don't be them in this way, where they rebelled and died, actually. And in an example here, many died, it says, of Israel when they said that he brought us out of Egypt to die, and then say there's no food and water, and we loathe this worthless bread. Oh man, that's strong against the Father himself. That's a strong testing constantly. It's a real strong test. But then now we immediately read what happens to many of them right after saying that. That's like an understanding to see. Right after someone says, our soul loathes this worthless bread, and you brought us out of Egypt to die. That's not the Father's intention. He's not doing anything like that, where he is playing deception. Come out of something that's dark and evil so I can kill you, like in the evil way. That's what they're speaking of. They're not speaking of the good. This is like the Father's bringing us out to do something really bad and just kill us all. And then right after we read that, so after saying that, there's no food, our soul loathes this worthless bread. So the Father sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many of the people of Israel died. And it's not funny, this death. It's just seeing like, man's like just complaining and stupidity. But that's going to happen along the way. But it's the thing to learn is realize it's happening, and then look to what we read next. Instead of going this direction, you go this direction to the right instead of left, and learn from it. But it's obviously doesn't mean that it's not gonna, complaints will never come, and these kinds of things like this. Yes, it will. And it just will. How do you say it will absolutely happen to his people, but they still need to not do the evil thing continually and go through it? That I see that can't be loved by someone that's, against him, obviously, because it doesn't make sense to someone. It doesn't make sense with free will as it's thought in the mind of just the world. It doesn't make sense that something must happen, but then we're being told not to do these things. But it must happen, and yet you need to not do these things. There's like no way in someone's mind on how to do that, because it's like one thing or the other, and not seeing what someone needs to see. But just because something will happen, it does not mean the Father's saying for a teaching, do the evil thing. It's like utter power and authority with his word. It will happen. But this is, what you do when it happens, instead of dying and staying dead. But we're not speaking of literally dying now. That is just the truth. And if that's not being seen, the meaning of something and the reality of it that he gives, it'll never be true for anyone. It'll never be proof for anyone. It'll be stupid and it won't make sense. And then the mind just lets it go and never thinks about it ever again, likely. And if it's brought up, it just boom, disappears real quick, because you don't want to think about, people don't want to think about what you don't know at all. That doesn't make sense. While we say his word is perfect and there's no contradictions and it's from the Father, while doing these works that prove that, is it from the Father in someone's heart when they say that out there? When the works are like proving like nothing to do with it, So then the works need to prove that, what someone says in their heart or whatever they say, the works need to start lining up with that. That means someone's believing what they read. But if the works aren't being done, how can I say, I believe this and it's never done? That's a lie. But it is easy to do that. And because of saying something like, he came to kill us out here in a bad way, not give us life, not lead us to life, not lead us to the promised land. He pulled us out to kill us. We'd be better off in darkness in Egypt. Then the next thing is that many die. It's a judgment for doing that, for putting a false thing on the Father and saying that's his heart. That's how important that is. He never does this work, ever. Now, just because many do go through that path and die does not make the Father a liar or do an evil. It's just proving who he is and his power, and the power of his word that never breaks is broken. And it does prove for anyone that can see that he doesn't do the actual evil. He doesn't do evil like that. He doesn't have evil, wicked heart intentions, And then, how many times do we read he's perfect and his way is perfect? Now, because of the people's sins and mistakes and death, does have nothing to do with who the Father is. Like a sinner that sins doesn't prove the Father's a sinner, but it's like these things like already automatically, it's like already there in someone's mind, in darkness, because it's always like selfish thinking. And it's not possible that someone can do what I'm not doing. That can't be the mind of someone, a believer. Like just because many are not doing something and then someone doesn't believe the good works they see. No, that can't be happening because they're not doing it. That's judging out of selfishness and insecure and self-righteous and all this. That's always contrasting self to everything else. Me first, the works sort of prove this selfishness, doesn't it? They do. Where everything is contrasted to self always, self. And it can't be like that. It's a lie. It's not righteous judgment. It's going to blind people. And the judgment will be blind. When you see something good and then it's judged for evil, that was not a true judgment or discernment. So then more than all of us even know, his word is applying, but that is learning that every word is true and does apply. It just needs to be given the meaning. And because many don't have understanding, the scripture now doesn't apply. That can never be the case. That's not true. And that's the same exact thing on a grand scale. If self doesn't see, understand, or is doing what that really is, what we read, therefore no one is. No one. Never. Which, when we see that work in someone, that just proves that they don't believe there's an actual way. And I'm speaking of someone that says they believe inside churches of the world. Their works just prove that their heart doesn't believe there's an actual way, that someone's actually doing this. It's just like doctrine for like covering self. And that's how you do away with everything. It like becomes no effect in reality in someone's mind and heart at all. They have a way of making his word to no effect, man. It's like a strong sorcery. And I see the work of that. But when we don't see what we need to see, when we read, you make his word no effect, like Messiah is saying. We don't see the reality of that and what it means. We don't see the actual proof of that. Therefore, that scripture is not meaning anything to us. Or when we see a little bit, now we see a little. But contrasting to what someone sees later, now they see more and the scripture means more and it applies more. But those that don't see anything, it doesn't mean anything, doesn't prove anything. They're not seeing it happen, whatever it means. And then it doesn't have any effect in them. Because it's not being done. If something's not understood, how could it be done anyways? And then someone's mind never sees the actual proof. It's like It's the fake belief. It's the false thing. Knowledge so-called, and like something that looks like faith. Something that looks like something. And it's the so-called because it just looks like it and isn't real. I read knowledge so-called, and I read like something else so-called. What is the other thing? Knowledge so-called, and thinking of something that I read directly. Not false humility. That's not coming to mind, the specific word. But it's not good to just look like something, you know, and that's the work right there. That's the trickery. And it's like all day long, you know, what I'm seeing, it's like people are doing, specifically, like speaking of the worldly churches, whatever, you know, the harlot, is that people are speaking, they speak back and forth, or the preacher man is speaking to them, and people are speaking, whatever, about, and there's like this weird agreement where you say something and someone else like agrees with it, and it's like makes it look like you're doing it. And you can do that sort of all day long, and then light comes by the way. And all of a sudden, we're talking about what that actually means, and speaking of the reality of doing these words here or that there. And all of a sudden, the people that said the same words that make it sound like they do and understand and are doing this attack it. So then it proves to me that if when the work is done like that, that before that, that was never real. What's in someone's mind when that's happening? It's not truth, that's for sure. It's a delusion. It's like everyone else is doing that, and then you sort of can justify it for yourself. Well, no one else is like really living this, so this must be the real thing. This must be as good as it gets. This must be faith. And that's the death people hold on to. It's never real. You know, so then it's like, well, everyone else is doing that. And what happens when someone's like being led up to believe, and maybe it's starting to look like something, and then like shortly after they become like the rest of the people that they are around constantly. There's just like a little spark or something, you know, and then it dies. But there's like a little bit of zealousness or something. There's a little bit of like, just a little bit is given to see something about the true way, and then boom, they kill them. And then like you see that little thing is gone, lamps out. And I like, speaking of what I actually see, knowing people and seeing some examples of this, you know, and I see that that's what happened. And it's like, oh, great. And if that happened, that's going to be an enemy, you know, just someone's going to be an enemy. Where there's like this little bit of zealousness, you know, even through confusion, because of like you're starting to look like something maybe, and then like there's hell, guys, and I don't want to see you go to hell, and this or that, and it sort of looks like something, a little bit of sin or something that's evil. They kind of like frown on it, and then the people will make fun of someone for doing that, because that's the tribulation, you know. The people in the churches, people, friends, everyone mock and scoff at something, which is discouraging for the person. And you know what? This kind of sucks. Now it's time to start justifying these things and say that they're okay. And once that starts, a serious blinding is being set in, and it gets worse and worse, and it'll just justify anything now. Because once a little is done, it goes to the big things too. And then what you saw that kind of bothered someone a little bit doesn't bother them anymore. They're laughing with the wicked the same way that they laughed at them for like sort of seeing something that they care about a little bit, and it's gone. It's gone. It's a sad case. And so often then a bunch of secret things have to be done and, try to hide from everyone. But then it's like, now I have to just be religious when you die. Now I just have to force myself in slavery to look like something because I do agree and I'm a member of the church world, someone could be saying in their mind. And then you're attaching an image, something like that looks good, that's like supposed to look better than the rest of the world. And that's like the set apart fake thing where it just looks a little better, just looks like something. And now you have to remember to always look like that. And you could do that all someone's life and never have the heart on the Father at all and his things at all. But when you see something that looks like that, it will be counted for having the thoughts on the Father and his things. The fake thing will become the proof for someone. And since there is nothing else, you can't condemn yourself. So it has to be that. The fake thing has to be real, because what else? Quit the church, say that you're a sinner and look bad, look like you're going to hell. So you have to get sucked into something, and you have to keep playing the game like that, where the fake thing must be the real thing. If you look like something, it must be that's what you're really doing, what that means, because you look like it on the outside. So then there's like already in someone's mind that they never believe that there's anyone that's actually living his way. And it's like in all of them, somewhere deep down inside. And they justify it and say it's okay. That was okay. No one's actually doing this. We're all human. We're all sinners. But then it's like saying right words, but only saying it to justify their sin. That is sin right there itself, where the heart is actually justifying it and saying something just to justify it. If that intention was spoken of right in front of someone, they didn't think anyone saw what they just did right there. And if that intention for why someone said something is brought up into the light, that is the cover, and that'll make someone rage, but I'm not saying to do this on purpose to make someone rage. It's just that if truth is spoken of, this is what it will do. And then the image it creates all throughout the years is, how dare you? That image is so strong that everyone counts on it. It's like already just doing that. That if you speak anything that you really see in the heart, you will look viciously evil for even saying that, because you're saying to someone that has a good image that you're doing the exact opposite in the heart of what that image looks like. But that image is proof to someone that they don't do the wickedness in the heart because it looks good. Therefore, they hear words, and they hear the words that give the opposite picture of the good image, and only the carnal understanding someone has. Those words that are backwards is a bad image, and you're saying what someone really is. I'm just trying to bring something out. What someone really is are these bad words, which is the bad, evil image that looks bad, while they project a good image. This is violently evil to everyone that's in darkness. Therefore, because it looks evil, you're the liar, and that's how you save your soul. In the shortest words that I know, as simple as I know to say it. But that was never being spoken of, the image. But they hear the words, And in someone's mind, you're saying that their image, what they are, is like bad, but their image is good. How dare you say that? It's a lie. It's not happening. The image is good. But they hear the words, but not being spoken of image on the outside thing only, but inside the inner spiritual things. So that person that's blind, it is to understand what someone sees. If that's never seen, then we don't know why something is done. They don't hear the understanding from what a believer would be saying, assuming someone's truly understanding what they're saying and seeing. They just see the opposite of the carnal image. The whatever looks good, they see now you're saying it looks bad. This is violently evil to someone. That's how it protects itself. Because the very proof that someone's good is like the carnal image. And we don't know how to say it in different words. If we're speaking about the heart and saying something we see, it'll come out with words. But their words are the good words that paint this image of good. But there's like no other way to say spiritual. It'll be what people already say and are familiar with, the words. Therefore, it can only see that you're saying that their image is actually evil and looks bad when it's obviously good. Violently evil. That's how it looks like to someone. And stupid. And blind. But somewhere in the heart, it's knowing it's doing some kind of evil deep down. But that's how you can defend self, There's a drive. And that's what makes it look real. But that drive is out of defending self, not out of loving truth. And that drive out of defending self is applied to, what do you mean this or that or this or that, How dare you? This is evil. It looks like someone's zealous. It looks like they're strong in that moment, which hides a bunch of lies and cowardness. It looks something like the real thing, the true thing, the good thing. That if it's true, there's nothing wrong with speaking actual truth. So then it's passed off as the true thing when it's not, for many, for anyone in darkness, for anyone in the harlot, because we do read, come out of her. If someone's in there continually, it's not good. It's darkness. And this is like, that's the difficult thing right there. So we can't think that we can prove something just because we say something, that's like for our mind and heart to do. Doesn't mean never to say something. It just means if something said, not actually believing or putting it on someone that must understand, because it's not going to happen unless the Father gives. But more like just the seed and just giving some truth. And if the Father adds the increase, then he does, But there's many seeds that fall in, something other than good ground. Well, there's those that haven't like been called yet, or but then there's those that have and they died already. And there's a difference between the two. There's still hope for the one that hasn't been called yet, and there's not for one that has been called and died already. How? This is so true and powerful, and it is frightening to fear properly that, Messiah taught it, but then simpler words we read elsewhere, Hebrews, you would have to crucify Messiah a second time and rise a second time in order to bring that person back alive. You crucify him again. These words are strong because what it means is real and it's strong. It's a big deal. Which makes it look like there's a lot of pressure on someone. If you sin once, what is it over? It's not that thing, but it's not the other thing either. It's the thing that the Father gives us to see, which just can't be given to someone like, here, have it, now they have it. You can speak the words, you can do the best you can, and you can't just do that part. If it could be done, we would be the one making it grow and sprout, come to life, add the increase, and we don't do that. And someone can plant a literal seed in the ground and add a little water, but they don't make it grow. We don't go, okay, push real hard and now it grows because you say so. Now that the Father does that in the natural picture, always something about it has to be true for the spiritual. And the true thing about that is that we don't literally do the increase part in the natural picture and seed. That's something true about creation. The literal creation is something true about the new creation in Messiah. We don't do that part. It's somehow still connected, somehow still where someone can't say now and go to the false thing. If this is true, I'm going way over here now, and never doing anything, never planting a seed, never watering ever, because I don't add the increase. That's false. It's a narrow way. And it's like never what the carnal mind thinks, blind, where you have like accountability and it's real, and yet you're not the creator, we're not the creator, and we're not sovereign, and we don't add the increase, and yet it's still directly connected through he works through his people. You can help someone or you can hurt them for real. That is true. But see, when one doctrine like the sovereignty of the creator, something, it can be used to destroy what the real truth is, which is violently evil, which means the heart is literally not caring about anyone, and they think it doesn't matter what we do. That's as backwards as it gets. And yet, because that's true, we're not saying the other thing. Because they're missing the spiritual understanding doesn't mean we're saying something, It's always falsely accused. Because they're not seeing the very thing like that's in our mind. Therefore, it must be this or that, and this carnal thing or that carnal thing, and then it's evil and we're lying. That's just it just will come. That's the accusations that will come by this world. Just like you should expect it to come from the world at the very least. It'll come from the harlot. The same way, because even more so, because they're connected to his word in a way that sort of the rest of the world's not, in the same way that's like not religious. It's like even worse. But the heart between the harlot and the beast, the heart of the matter is the heart's the same. It has changed. It's not different. It's just a different image. So powerful, the image of the beast, man. It's connected to everything. And whoever is not marked, the beast, the image of the beast, which is connected to the devil, the wicked one, which is connected to people, obviously both are true. Whoever really is that, the saints that don't buy, sell, they must be killed. It's a literal spiritual fact, if you will. I don't like talking like that, but like there's like natural facts that's like literal simple facts, boom, proof. But it's like spiritual truth, fact. This is what they will do to you, period. They have to. Because that's the enemy, and the enemy doesn't love the Father at all, Messiah or his people. They don't love the people because of hating the Father first. Not because of people. Like that's a teaching too. Once again, what does that bring out? It throws self in the garbage. It throws self out into the garbage. Because you could do something that looks right and it's evil. Like someone's heart, a spiritual problem, believes that this is happening to us, to someone. And they believe in their heart something's happening to them because of them, because they hate me, the light. And it's sin. And yet it looks it looks right. Because there's hardly any difference on the outside from the real good thing, which is understanding that someone will hate someone because they hate the Father first, and because of that, because they already hate him first, and you and me are a believer under him, a son, which is the being one with the Father in spirit and connected for real. And that's why. It's because of hating the Father first and foremost from long, long ago, from being a child. That was already true first. That's why it's being done. But someone can have a corrupting in their heart and say like the right thing and sort of look like it. But something that's a sin for them to get out of the heart, that's an actual sin and pride and selfish, and look so close to the true thing. Where it's because of like me, it's because of me, self. And when that is done and grows, creeps in, then it becomes like you are the God creator, It's because of me that this is happening. No, that's not, it's not just not true. It's stupid if it can be seen. The more he gives us, the more stupid it becomes. Because if we weren't seeing something, it's not as stupid. But if we see more, it becomes more stupid. To know everyone's place, that we're not the creator, and you see these things, and you see the Father as the creator and above, and believing that. To do the backwards thing, like because of self, is to flip it around and start being a God in someone's mind. Look at that. And it looks just like the true thing on the outside, just like it. The difference is the pride, the spiritual wickedness, the intentions of the heart inside. But on the outside, look how close it looks to the same thing. This understandings and truth, just that by itself, that's what would make someone pale-faced that we read of Daniel or John in Revelation, where he's like in wonder that everyone's wondering and marveling after the beast. Like, no, it can't be this bad. It's not like unbelief and like actual denial. It's unbelief on how strong this is. Like, wow, it can't be true. No way. No way. And if that's like for a believer, what on earth is going on with an unbeliever? It literally is unbelievable. It can't be true. It's shocking to a believer when these things he gives us to start seeing. It's shocking. It's like, no way, it's too big. But for someone that's not being given, that's just the fatherless without the Father, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's not understood. And then if it's tried to explain, it's like, no way that can be true. No way. And if the righteous are scarcely saved, what on earth is going on in an unbeliever's mind and heart? If the righteous are literally scarcely saved to just get through, where else is that same? We read that literally, but where else is it taught? Well, it's like not the words, but you see the teaching when the Father gives something about a parable or this word or that. If we give up a little bit of oil to someone that wants to steal it, we won't have enough to make it through the night. What is that saying? That the Father gives us just enough to get through on purpose. He could give us more. Why couldn't he? But now, knowing this, it changes everything. Knowing this and really believing it, it's pretty important, because that means if it is like being stripped and given away like this through deception, you couldn't afford that. So now it's like, okay, this can't happen. My goodness, just enough to get through the night. But that makes it sound like the 5 wise virgins are selfish, doesn't it? Right on the surface. Because everything that's true and good, that's understood, that's given and understood in the heart, always looks evil to the world. If it doesn't, something's wrong, must not be true. Or it's too small still, it needs to grow, and it will be true. It'll be seen more that it's hated and looks bad. You could speak out of this knowing the truth about the five wise, five foolish, but the wise with oil, his spirit. And you start seeing and believing and understanding this and knowing it to be true, then you speak out of seeing the understanding and truth that it's just enough to get through the night when night comes. If you even remotely sound like you can't give something at all, you can't afford to, that's the definition of selfish. And it looks selfish to the world, therefore it is selfish. And the only way to keep that, including the right words out of speaking out of that, is to look selfish, because it's the truth. How else do you say it that makes it not look selfish? If it doesn't look selfish, it's a lie in this one example. Speaking out of understanding that truth, it must look selfish. It has to, period. Has to. But you don't do something on purpose. Look selfish. Go out of the way to look selfish, to prove you're doing the good thing. When that's done, the good thing's not being done. It's just that if the good thing's being done and understood, this is what will happen. The intention's never to do the thing over there. The end result of what a good thing creates and makes happen. And you do the end result so that you can say you did the first thing. It never works like that. But if we do the first thing, this is what will happen, the result over here, number 2. But if someone goes out of their way to do number 2 so that they can prove they're doing number 1, they're not. They're not. Can't be done. Never is done. And when those works are seen like continually like that, they don't know what number 1 is. They're not doing it in reality. And it's carnally stupid. You know, if we drawed out the natural picture and gave examples, it would be stupid and impossible. So then it's the same spiritually. I don't know what would be a good example right now. You know, you do the end result of something that doesn't prove the first thing by itself. It can't prove it. So then there's a crooked intention. Why would someone do what the end result is, what it looks like? Why would they do that to prove they have what causes that? That's backwards. The only way the number 2 comes is because number 1 is real. If you go to the thing that's not real, that's created from doing number 1, if you do the thing and saying, I'm going out of my way to look like this number 2 of what's created from 1, going backwards like that never proves that you're doing 1. It can't. It can't prove it. It can never actually prove it, ever. And speaking of the real proof, you know, not playing games, it can never actually prove it, ever. It's an amazing thing, but man, I mean, when you see these works, it's tricky because it looks pretty similar so often. And it's like, okay, you know, we read about knowing the devil's devices and crafty tricks, you know, and not being tricked by it. That's for a believer to learn and see. Because it is tricky and crafty. It literally is incredibly crafty and tricky, some more, some less. How do people know how to do that already? Because when someone's doing that continually, they don't actually understand number 1 and what it means, and oil and the 5 wise virgins. When that's continually done, that's proof that they don't understand what it is. They just working with images where I see something with words. This is what it looks like in my mind. If I do what it looks like, I'm doing what number 1 is. That means they don't understand what it is. In reality, in their heart, they don't know what it means. How do they know how to do that trick if they don't even know what it means? How? And some things are deeper, you know. And it's like, how do you know how to do this deep? How do you know how to do this deep trick without actually knowing what it really means, you know, on any given scripture? Well, you don't have to know what it means. That is the truth, to do that trick. But nevertheless, I mean, that's pretty crafty. what is it in this world? People don't think that it's deceiving, that there's a power, that there's a masquerade, and it's very tricky and real. Otherwise, what on earth does it mean? Don't be deceived. It's like Messiah telling disciples now. Don't be deceived. Start off with don't be deceived. It sounds like that's man's own ability. Okay, I will not be deceived. It doesn't matter what it sounds like. There is a way to hear those words and do them, and it has nothing to do with what someone thinks that means through carnality and self-righteousness. Because someone can't see the way, the meaning of that, and what to do. They only see the false thing, the evil thing, instead of the good. And that happens because they literally don't see what the good thing and the good way and what it means, and spiritually means for us. And it happens over and over. This is what's happening. I'm trying to bring out the works that are happening. Speaking out of not knowing, then if we don't truly know or see something, it's going to be false already and carnal. And it's going to be seen only the way that the darkened mind already sees things, which is you tell someone, don't be deceived. They can only comprehend what they already know that means. In their own mind, they know. But this knowing is false. They don't know, but they think they know. And because someone thinks they know, that's why they don't know. Because they never said, I don't know the truth. The truth is we don't know what we need to learn, speaking of the way. Then when we say we don't know, the Father starts giving us what we don't know. And then you see it. And when he starts giving it, he proves to us that we never knew. Because now you see what you literally didn't know. We're not, stupid. Truth is not stupid. It's utter proof. It's just speaking what we literally see and hear from him and know. And we know that we didn't know because the thing is given to prove that what we thought it meant was false. And now seeing the good thing, proving to self that we didn't know, but now we know something about it. It's simple. But the works of darkness and evil is always lying, killing, stealing, destroying, masquerading. So it's very easy to just dump someone off and claim they're doing that. Because if they don't see what the good thing is, it's not proof to them. Therefore, they can accuse you of doing what everyone else is doing, and just saying what exists. This is what happens. This is what will happen with believers. It must. Because someone else doesn't see the good thing, the true thing. Therefore, it's never proof to the enemy. And they can claim you're just making things up, which is a sin. It's like, obviously, it's not a sin to someone that's constantly doing that work. But they can't believe that we see something about caring about making things up and deception and lies. There's no proof for them, even though the works are seen. It's despised. They don't want to see it, and they don't see what they need to see. And Messiah. Okay. What do they want? I think I got an order here. Beast is calling. Doesn't that sound like something too when I say the beast is calling? It's connected to self, isn't it? Therefore, devil of the beast, because I say I'm doing beast work, beast job. That's not what I mean, though. I'm saying it for a reason that someone, if they accused of that, I know that they don't understand what I just said because I see in my mind I'm not talking about that thing. That thing is the lower thing. I can see that. I can see what that is, where they're coming from. That's not what's on the mind. I don't know if that was a great example, but it seemed somewhat good. Well, can't say even somewhat. It either is talking about what we're saying or it's not, But earthly things, there's always a little problem with it because in contrast to the Father being perfect, it can never be perfect, and yet it's a good example. or a picture, but it will never be perfect, because we can't ever say that man is I mean, it's crazy, man is perfect, and then the examples of mankind and what he does, it can't be contrasted in that kind of way, because the Father's perfect. But nevertheless, the right example, and we have scriptures that do that. We can do that, what people have told me that I can't do. We can read examples of it being done, like giving an example of family structure to speak on something, and then say you can't do that. Okay, here's the words, here's the verses where Messiah does that. Now you tell me why you don't believe it. Short-sighted. or scriptures in wherever, Genesis, Isaiah, somewhere, many examples where that comparison is there to bring something out. And we can do that because it's his very word. It's the Father doing that. And that's like another thing to bring out, where different things, different examples, like where someone says you can't say that. It's protecting something most of the time. That's going to be like if it is out of the carnal thing, defending self, defending a lie. That's why someone says you can't do that. Why can't I do that when I already know of many different scriptures, and that the Father's word, he does that himself, and Messiah does this himself. Now the question is, why would someone do that? How can't they see that that's what his word does? And if they can't see what his word does, why would they say, why? You start asking why. Oh, and the Father shows you something. They're defending something in their mind, a sin, covering something, which projects a zealousness, which projects something that looks good, some kind of zealousness or defense for his truth, like it's showing like a care for his truth. It's not. When that work is done like that, it's not those good things. It just looks like it. I mean, this is why it's so difficult. This is why some things that never made sense, never meant anything, boom, now the Father's showing us, like, whoa, that's what it's talking about. This is evil. This is deception. This is confusion. This is a mess. And if you actually care about something, the Father gives this love and care, of which we're void of without him. Then it's just a pretend care. But when the real care comes in, it bothers you because there's real care, and carnal man can't understand that. So it's always stupid what they hear to them. Their own lack of care is why it's stupid to them, and they can't see that. Try to tell someone. It's just blind, darkened, And if someone doesn't care actually with the heart about something, especially his word, it's going to look real stupid to them when we make a big deal out of something. That's what we'll be accused. You're making a big deal because they hear the words once again, and we're speaking out of the true things that we see that are important, huge, we care about, and they don't see the thing we're speaking about. So they think in their mind what they think the words they hear means. And they already do that in religion. They already project an image. They already do. And it's stupid to them. It literally is. It's not like it really is stupid to them. That's sort of the frightening thing. Everything's real. But that foolishness to them is like a deception and delusion, but it's real to them. But that work is proof that it's like a deception. Because the true thing, we wouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't do that continually, that's for sure. Grow out of it, destroy the wicked inside, destroy the evil leaven of false doctrine and malice and wickedness inside. Yeah, and so then we read afterwards, right after, I think the next few verses is, many died there because they said that the Father will do this thing. I mean, this is such a powerful judgment to see and understand. It does matter what the heart says. It does matter what the mouth says only if it's actually true coming from the heart. But we never speak of the words by themselves because it's not the real thing, the heart. So then it matters what the heart says. And if our heart is saying with the heart, and the Father knows whether it's true or not and real or not, you come out to kill us in an evil way, contradicting to give us life. You came to kill us and destroy us like the devil's works himself. Serpents bite them. Devils bite them. Because they said that's true. That's what you actually think of me and believe of me. Here's the reality. You're going to live it. This can be appreciated for someone that's anybody that's of Messiah that's seeing something about this sternness and perfectness of the Father and sovereign, authority. Like, we can't play games over here. Can't play games. He'll send serpents to bite. That scripture's true. What does it mean for us? We would say those words, serpents bite, but we're talking about people now and the devil's works. That's pretty offensive. That's why the serpent needs to go on the stake. And look at yourself. Serpents are biting you. Why do you think it needs to die on the stake? Look to it and believe. We read, look to him, and they were healed. Okay, serpents are biting you, okay? Just believe, though, even if you don't understand, that he will give the understanding and get you through. Just believe that. And then they're healed, But without actual belief, there's nothing. We have nothing, no power, nothing. The Spirit of the Father and Messiah in us. We don't have. We can't do anything. The serpents bite, and the serpents don't like fire, right? And the apostle shakes out the serpent into the fire, like you get the stupid thing in the fire. But it didn't hurt him. And the people that saw all the works, what should have happened, when it doesn't happen, he's God. And it's kind of funny the way we read it. It's like they're just calling him God. It's not about the words. This is what the heart really does. It's still true. If they see a spiritual thing where they want to bite you, they want to destroy you, and then they see afterwards you're still alive. It didn't do what absolutely should happen when a snake bites you with venom. What is that? Who is that? And it's like, oh, gods. He's the God, someone of the gods. And that's all false and evil. Because they're not understanding why that's true. So then out of carnality, it's like, that's literally impossible. He must be like a god or something. And someone should go read it because it's humorous to me at the proper time sometimes. And the snake goes in the fire, destroyed. That work of the devil, we need to die. Who and what we are needs to die. But that stake represents and points forward to Messiah, looking on to him. What's the connection? Oh, he's a serpent. How dare you say that? It makes it look like someone cares. By going, how dare you in religion, and we stand up for a lie. You say he's a serpent? You said that he went on the stake and they killed him, and you're saying Moses' rod is pointing forward to that? And the people are believing in what? Not Messiah? What are they doing? But if they can't see the understanding, the only thing they can see is vicious evil. So you have to stay away from that scripture in your heart. Because when it's brought up, it's like, oh, you're saying Messiah is a serpent. Wicked. So that means in their own heart, they never have that on their mind, ever. The very heart of truth, Messiah dying for our sins and everything connected to it, is never on their mind. The real thing, the real understanding and meaning, because that's sin to them. I know it doesn't work like this in this world, but I'm speaking of like what's really going on. It doesn't work like that in a carnal mind. But this is it is working like this outside of a delusion. That's what we see. And it's because of not understanding something. But it's like, that's okay. But what's not good for us, we can't be doing, is forever not understanding, never asking, never acknowledging something, It's just that done continually, it's not good. The flesh represents the old man that needs to die, and Messiah is representing this, even though he didn't sin. It's not a joke. He's a man just like everyone else, and he overcame the world because of the Father's Spirit in him. If he didn't have the Father in him, he'd be a full-blown sinner continually. That's the truth. So then Messiah dying by the Father getting him to overcome sin under the law. Someone that didn't sin now can be, this is the truth, a sacrifice, even though representing the old man that needs to die. Knowing that Messiah sinned, it's still true. Didn't sin, it's still true. We know why he didn't sin. This is the power of the Father that he can do these works, because he already did it perfectly once. No one can ever say the perfect thing can't be done, can't be led up to do that. He already did it perfectly. That's like this, here it is, perfect. And everything was real still, but nevertheless perfect. So now we can't say as an example, because he's the perfect example, literally. Dying for our sins now because of being put under the law so that he can die for everyone's sins. But we don't live under the law in that way, but he was put under it to be a sacrifice, so that we're not under it, but under Messiah instead, which is no condemnation under Messiah, which under the law, every little sin is condemnation. And once it happens, it stays there. It never goes away. That's something that needs to be understood too. Oh man, I better get going. It just keeps on ringing. Okay, place. It's always at the worst time so many times. Like, that's just the way it is. It's happening all the time like that with all kinds of things. And you have to accept it. So then Messiah became the sacrifice, the blood covering, what we read of on the post, so the destroy. My goodness, it's a noisy world. It must have rang like 12 times in the last few minutes. It's insane. It's like if you don't get going in 5 seconds, you can't do that in this world. You can't do that. You can't do what I can't do. Have anybody else noticed these works? That's the very thing like we need to start overcoming. Stop comparing with self in this kind of evil, selfish way. Let it be. We say run from evil, walk away from evil. Don't go towards it and start a fight and then say we're good because we defended someone. You just believe whatever the Father tells you to do. And it's going to just be to go stay away from evil. When it's actually seen, you don't go towards it. That's what the devil wants. Like, come. And, you could see what entertainment. These things, like it, they make it look stupid, but it's real. And it's like how they do away with it too at the same time. It's a calling. It's going to pull someone in. It's always like a pressure to do evil, But the Father is greater than the magician's power through darkness, which is ultimately given by the Father, but it's not the Father's specific power here, because this is massive. But see, then we see something and we go, well, you can't do that. What do you mean? This is what you're saying now. Are you saying the Egyptians, the unbelievers, Pharaoh, representing the unbelievers and wickedness? Would people say that this power they had to do with the rods, is coming directly from the Father, from himself moving them to do evil? And then through Moses and his people, he overcomes that evil by the Father's power. This is a big deal, because that's the Father destroying himself and then saying we have victory over he who's in and of the world. He who is in us destroys the Father that's in and of the world. It's wicked. But, I didn't know. I didn't see it like I see now. But I'm just saying what I see now. It's evil. There is a power through darkness, and it's there so that he can show his power. There's a great power. And then when that power is being overcome, that brings out his power. It wouldn't be so like that without there being an actual power. If there was zero power to overcome, he can't show any power. Zero. If it is zero. If there's a little, he could show a little. But if it's a great power and he's overcoming his people that believe, that look on him, overcoming that great power that proves there's, the power that he gives his people that's from him. It proves he has power. In reality, it does. So wherever we see scriptures that someone would think there's power there, that means something for us, and there is a real power on something that means, and the power is real. And, the power of the Red Sea flooding someone is powerful because the literal waves and coming down and just moving man like he's a little leaf or a little grain of sand, just boom. That's power. That means, it's real and it exists, and he will do that. When someone tries to chase you and attack you, they're destroying themselves when they specifically try to do wicked like that. He floods them. And you can watch it, and we've seen it happen. And it's like, wow, they just got flooded. They just instantly get more destroyed within, and then who knows for judgment. Who knows for judgment that he can also do. To the carnal man, carnal things is a tribulation. So often it sort of happens like that. But he can judge without doing that. Just destroy someone. Just their life is being taken. Just let the devil come after them a little more and destroy them. Destroy and eat up the flesh, pick at it. So easily. And that's like Job right there, where is that the Father destroying Job for a destruction through evil and evil intentions to hurt Job evilly, desire to take his life, but he says you can't take his life, but he wants to. Is that the Father doing that? That's wicked. No, the Father shows that he doesn't do that because that thing exists. Trying to bring out two things. He shows that he doesn't do that because there exists something that does do that. He wouldn't be able to show that he doesn't do that. He wouldn't be able to show that's who he is, that doesn't do that, which shows what he does do, good, without there being something that wants to destroy for real. But then even that evil, he shows like he swallows it up. And the stupidity of evil is he'll use it, even evil intentions, evil works coming our way, and just takes that whole thing and turns it into something good that's for our benefit. Even does that too, and makes evil utterly stupid. Because if we're walking in the Spirit, not doing out of pride and evil, and we just always believe and have that belief that it'll work out in reality, look to him. The evil that comes our ways that we can't foresee what it might come to, that he brings out of it. The people attacking and evil coming our way, it's violently evil and destruction's on their mind, They don't care. They think they're wise. They only see one thing: kill, steal, destroy. But then when we walk in the Spirit and just trust in him for defending us and flooding the enemies, if they do that, because we need his protection, and then don't rejoice and jump up and down, also pretty difficult. When he does do that judgment, don't rejoice. If you take revenge, he won't judge like that in the same way. You revenged, there it is. That's what you said, you did it. There it is, that's your revenge. And so it's not even like the perfect judgment back, what you would want to see for evil, justice, So there's incentive, for everything that's good. If we take the vengeance, the Father will not do it in the same way back to the one that did evil. If we didn't take vengeance, and then we trust that he'll just judge them, that'll come on them. The perfect thing. What the eye wants to see. We read the scriptures. We can't deny it. It's better to say, I don't know, we don't know something, than to start, this is a lie. Let me go over here to prove this is a lie. Never do that. If it's simple, you just say, we always believe the simple thing at the very least, and we read that the eye wants to see, like a satisfaction even. How do you do that while you don't rejoice for someone falling hard because of the Father's judgment? It's possible. But if that thing is not seen, it cannot be done in our heart, because you don't rejoice in your heart. That's for destruction. But you can be satisfied that justice and vengeance was taken for evil, and the righteous judge judged them. Yes, it can. It can be done. Both can be done, but only his way, only from receiving from him, learning what this is being given, no other way. It sounds contradicting right away. It's like, and whatever sounds contradicting someone's mind, run from it. You know, that's how the wicked's mind and the thoughts are never on the Father, even if it's in religion. That's how. Because it's never the true meaning. It's never living the true meaning. It can be done all day long and never actually have the true thoughts on his things and him on the mind. And that's a little frightening, because, because the world does make it look like something, and that's powerful to the world. To say anything that even remotely says that's not true. I mean, look how bad it looks on us. Look how evil that looks. You have to know the mind of evil in order to see the tricks. So then be wise as serpents, at least as wise as the devil. The tricks of the serpent, but gentle as doves. What does that sound like? We should have serpent wisdom. In a way, yeah. In a way, the true spiritual thing that we need to see, yeah. Which is separate from Messiah saying we need to do the works of the devil and have serpent wisdom to do that and love that. He's not saying that. Where does he say that? That's true. But someone could add to his word right there. Boom, added. This is what he's saying now. Where did he say that? He said, be wise as serpents. And then someone goes, I don't think the scripture's legitimate. And then they cause more confusion. Then they cause doubts. And then they cause doubts whether the scripture should even be there. And on it goes because of their lack of understanding. It's desperately wicked. And I mean, that's what we have to see, that self is that. But he can destroy that. He's destroying that. But we need to know and hate the desperately wicked thing. That's true. Be wise as serpents. See, we read that. That means literally wise as whatever the serpent is at any time, greater or lesser. If you're wise as the serpent in that scenario, you understand why they did what they did. If you don't understand why someone's doing, through that trickery, serpent works and knowledge. If you literally don't understand as much as the serpent, they will trick you. And they've tricked me. And they'll get us. But, Father brings us back up when we believe in him. But that's what causes, scary, because the falls are real. And it's like if he didn't lift us back up, we would never get back up. I don't know how else to say it. That causes a proper fear. Literally, we would never get back up. He's proving something. His power, he's proving his word is true. So many things. And it humbles someone when they start really believing and seeing what they need to. It breaks them down. It's so easy to talk about humble and not to be selfish. And it's a whole new world. When the Father gives us understanding of the words that the world says so often, it's a whole new thing. But it's like the same words. What do you call that? Is that like a precept or something? I don't know what to call that. It is like some kind of masquerade, but I mean, so then it's like you speak out of zealousness, out of seeing something the Father's giving you. And you just said what the world said for 2,000 years. You look stupid. Yeah, duh. We already know that. We're right. You're wrong. I'm trying to bring out that the very thing the Father gives us, if we say it, the world's already been saying that. It's serpent wisdom. It says the right words a lot of times, but that's the carnal, worldly serpent wisdom. It has nothing to do with the real thing. It's just the carnal thing only. And that's no good then. That means the image, the carnal wisdom of selflessness is just an image and not real. That's what that means. When we only have the carnal lower thing, the worldly serpent wisdom like this, that means it only looks like something and it's not real inside the heart. They speak with their mouth, but their heart is far from me. We read Messiah saying that, powerful words. But if someone can read those words in religion and say it, think they're wise saying it, and it, no effect, no power, no meaning, no understanding. Speaking of the true thing in contrast, this is what they're doing constantly. They thought like our Father is a liar or something, or Messiah is lying. This is what everyone's doing that's against him. It's not just a couple people, it's everyone that's against him still. But it's specifically the harlot. Honoring with his lips, with the lips, but the heart is far from me. If there's no heart, it doesn't matter what the lips say. It's worthless. That means they're doing serpent, devil works in the heart, which is wicked. So it's like everything he gives, it's you speak like out of being amazed on seeing something and then realize at some point, wait a second. I said those words a long time ago. This world says those same words. There's no distinction between this and what the world does. Oh, that's what a great travail, sore travail, what a great evil. You know, like what a difficult thing. And there's no proof. We cannot do any proof to the blind. How do you prove something to someone that can't see? How? Now bring in the natural picture of a literal blind man. We're speaking of the trees, the grass, and what we literally see. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. This is true. Look at the proof. I see it. Is it proof to the blind man? No, it's no proof. Is it stupid to actually believe in our heart that the blind man will understand what we're saying out of seeing just because we told them? No, look at the natural picture. How much more true for the spiritual? You can't believe and understand what you don't see in reality. And so then that's the blinding Messiah's quoting from scripture, have eyes but can't see, ears but can't hear. The spiritual good things that the Father gives, every good gift from above. And not just stars, moon, and sun, not just the mind on carnal, literal things that we could see. Every good gift from above, and then you trick a bunch of people because you only always talk about what you physically see, and that's it. You could be breaking it in the heart all day long, doing evil. But because someone says every good gift comes from above, he's the Father of the literal lights, which is true. There's nothing wrong with this. The problem is only seeing that he's the Father of the literal stars and nothing else. But then how does the carnal man work? If you say something about the stars representing believers, they'll just say those words. Okay, now I said the right words. Not talking about that. And the heavens are perfect. You look up to the heavens. How much more perfect the heavenly things that the Father, who and what the Father is, the spiritual things he gives, how much more perfect these real big things, if the heavens we look up to are perfect already. It's teaching something. His people are from above. And someone said it that I never saw it in the exact same way with that scripture. Right in Genesis, the waters from above separated from the waters beneath. It's the carnal, worldly ocean waters But the waters above, you would think it's bad because the waters of the ocean and represent unbelievers. So now waters must be no. Then there's a such thing as good. Waters above, the peoples in the heavens, the stars above, and the devil has his stars. A star of your gods, like we read, when that's a deeper thing. So then the literal creation is like, it's screaming out whatever the Father's truth is. We just need to be given it to see. It doesn't do away with the creation. It's just that it has a lot of meaning and it's teaching something. The natural and spiritual, when the two become one, this is the perfect thing. Maybe the heavens and earth will become one someday. Now that will never happen. Screw that. We love evil. It's going to go like this forever. How do we sell tricky doctrine that makes it sound like we believe truth, but what it really means is that evil goes on forever. Wickedness goes on forever. How do we do that? They don't even have to think. It just already knows. It's crazy. And if someone's telling you to do that, you don't have to understand or know it. Through deception, through the devil, you just do the evil thing already. Trick people and deceive them. Crafty. Oh man, I never know how much time passes by. It's the problem. I really don't like that. It's extremely difficult because then I get angry a little bit that I'm not doing the job the best I can, but then I can't put that above having my job. So it's like difficult. It seems like timing is always so many times like that, where it's like, what do you love in reality with the heart? Are you going to prove when there's a little bit of pressure now, could apply for anything, anytime, anywhere for someone, and there's a little actual real pressure? Are we going to prove that we're worried and concerned and care about the worldly, carnal things and like the love of gaining carnal things and money way more than the Father's things? See, that's not the state of carnal man. He's just never like in reality. It's amazing. There's a real testing, pressure, and the whole world really being tested in this way too. Not just his people, but this testing never is the same thing. For the unbeliever, because he never sees what he needs to see. So they're not being tested in the same way, but there is a test. But it's just constantly failing the test over and over again, and more death, more death. But now you start seeing the test and seeing for what it is, so that you purposefully want to overcome it. Try. And it'll, this company is like, it's either it's like nothing, and then just boom, just puts you in debt. That's what the world does, and I can't do anything about it. I don't like working out of debt. And yet here it is, literally sort of, you're behind, you're in debt to somebody. I don't know what the perfect thing is, because it's going to sound like I'm saying we can't work at all, ever. If we say we shouldn't be in debt, that means we say we can be lazy and not do anything ever. No, I'm not talking about that. Once again, there is some kind of the perfect thing, and it needs to be seen. And that matters to me now. But if someone of the world, it doesn't matter to them. Who cares? What's the difference? You got a house, you got this. Who cares if you're in debt? I do. It sucks. It's slavery in its own way. It's holding back things. And then you have to work out of needing to, which is what the devil, the devil grin. It wants you to do that. And the people in and of the world like that. While they pretend not to, they want people to be in debt to them. Spiritually, literally, because the literal is connected to spiritual, in that you can't do the literal without some kind of intention for the heart. And I've seen this, and it's insane. I went to the convenience store a few days back, I don't know, a couple weeks back, and I got something from there. What was it now? How did it work? I'm trying to remember now. Did they have it? Oh, I got something and it wasn't in their like system for some weird reason. So the guy says, you come back sometime, I'll get you later for it. And it's like there's a zealousness for it. It makes them look good. But I could see that man just already likes the evil thing to be in debt. They want you to be in debt. Now, if we were to say that with words like I am, oh, that's evil. No way. We don't do that, says the guy doing it or the world doing it. We don't do that because their image covers that that's what their heart is doing so that you can't say that's what they're doing. That's the cover. And if that's what's happening all the time, that means that zealousness or like, oh, I got you, man, I got you, was never real, ever. It means they don't care about you, and they're not doing it because they care about you. They found a way in their mind to look like they care so they can do the evil thing. How does it look like you care? Through exactly that image where there's a drive. The drive is coming from an evil heart. Then you apply it to the good image. And now that image is connected to drive, which looks like love, looks like they care. I got you, got you. That drive is because someone wants you to be under debt to them. Yes, it is. I know this is like just one little example, and it's not about the one item at the store. Bringing something out that's always true in the heart. The heart's already crooked now. It's already bad. If debt is evil, man loves it. And the end of the age will be like the perfect manifestation of whatever perfect debt is, physically and spiritually. I mean, it's like, look at it. Look at it. Does that make it sound like we're putting pressure on someone? Are you saying debt is evil and now everyone that's under debt is wicked? They want you to believe that so that they can condemn it. And then if you say, no, that's not what I'm saying at all, that makes them angry because they needed that to be true. That's not speaking out of truth. That's needing something to be true so they can condemn you. Oh, it's sick. You know, this has to do with the commandments, all of them, the very things that's being spoken. This is the real things. It's not real to people. It's like nothing to them, to the blind. The delusion is real to them. It's amazing. This is the real higher things. We don't do away with the lower things. It's just that this is the real higher things. Everyday sin, constantly, you know, which is not love your neighbor as yourself. Would you want someone to do those works and want you in debt? Well, the person that did that work wouldn't like the evil that someone does to them, and they wouldn't believe the other person that does the evil, because when they do that evil themselves, it's out of actual evil and not care. So then an enemy can know something about the evil that they see that they did, but now it's being done to them. You wicked, secretly going, you don't care. You're not doing this because you want me in debt. Because they do that. They understand something about that evil, and they've never seen the good thing. Therefore, when someone does the fakery to them now, they don't believe it somewhere inside, you know? And they do that all the time. Isn't that a strong blinding? My goodness, that's strong to condemn the very thing you do constantly yourself. And that's like the evil. There's no blessings in evil. It's all like enmity and wickedness through evil and lies. But you have to see the spiritual things. You have to see inside someone to see the Father's truth so that you can see his judgments and blessings and then see the reality of it, that he's righteous, judge, and true. But the devil's already covering that. So he already just act like something to make it look like the Father's judgment is not happening right there. And it is. It's covered with clothes, images. Clothes are like the outward image. Does that mean clothes are utterly worthless by itself? No. In contrast to real things, it's worthless. When the clothes, which is the lower thing, is acted and believed as the higher thing, that's evil and no good. But are clothes all by themselves stupid and worthless? No. Two different things. But someone will say, are you saying it's evil and worthless? No. But when the contrast is made, it's always the lower thing, and it is worthless. When the higher thing's never in sight, then it is worthless. It has no effect for any actual good in the heart. It's just the carnal man doing carnal things, and in this way, it has no effect, which is no effect on the very real things that we read of that the Father gives. But that's not true to the carnal man, because the carnal things are the only things he seeks for. And we just called it worthless. We just called it worthless by itself. It's offensive. We just called literal gold worthless in contrast to what real gold from above is. Is gold all by itself wicked and evil all by itself and worthless literally all by itself? No. But when the two things are brought up, which always it needs to be, when someone has nothing to do with the heavenly thing, now that thing is worthless. It has no effect. They're digging underground instead of being from above. Wherever someone's heart is, wherever someone's treasure is, if it's underground, money, low, earthly, carnal, even under the earth, money, gold, the natural gold, the real money, speaking of the gold now, and metal, whatever, precious things, rubies, whatever. That money is underground. It's carnal, and the dead are underground, I'm pretty sure. So then someone's heart is seeking death. It makes that thing look like it's wicked all by itself, and it's not. It's a spiritual thing that's wicked, that the heavenly thing the heart has no care of. And when that's true, then it becomes wicked, because then it's the heart's intentions are corrupt and evil. The Father's creation is not just evil all by itself. As I made gold and now it's wicked all by itself. It can be used, and it can be used good, and it can be used evil, but the love of it for us is evil, to seek it, to love it, because of what it denies, because evil is connected to the love of it. It just is. All right, I better stop, even though I sort of, it's not perfect thing right here. But I don't know how much time passed by, so seek truth from the Creator above.